They said the planet was lifeless. That's what the probes reported. But machines don't scream when they die. They called it Operation Needlepoint, a light recon and survey drop on a world codenamed Styx-3, some ice-covered moon orbiting a dead gas giant in a forgotten part of the Obsidian Reach. Corporate wanted to test mineral yields and scout potential terraforming sites. Real exciting stuff for a Marine detachment. In and out, they told us. Yeah. That always ends well. I'm Gunnery Sergeant Kel Varn, 3rd Marine Detachment, Earth Coalition Forces. I've seen 4 black zones, 2 xenocontacts, and 1 too many command screw-ups. They gave me 6 for this run. 6 damn good ones. There was Reza, our close combat psycho, carried dual monoblades and a grin that never made it to his eyes. Kip handled comms and recon drones. Quiet kid, twitchy fingers, too many hours simming pirate raids. Marlowe, heavy weapons. Big guy, bigger ego, carried a gravrip like it was a lunchbox. Doc Nella, our medic, smartest of us all, and not just because she once stitched a lung shut mid-firefight. Lieutenant Orion was our CO, by the book, fresh from Officer Academy, and walking proof that war and theory make poor bedfellows. And then there was Eryx, the Xeno liaison, if you could call her that. She was with the Vexery, an allied species with too many mandibles and too little patience for humans. Eryx wasn't military, more like a walking translator with claws. Tall, blue-skinned, eyes like a dying star. Looked at us like we were always 5 seconds from screwing everything up. Maybe we were. They dropped us onto Styx-3 in a skimmer at 0500 hours. Cold as the void, gravity a hair light, and visibility shot to hell from the ever-blowing ice storms. Our base camp was a prefabricated dome drilled into a canyon wall. Tight quarters, zero comfort, but operational. The job? Sweep the canyons for signs of hostile life, scan for mineral veins, mark terraform potential, then get out in 5 days. Simple. But from day one it felt wrong. The terrain shifted. Not erosion. Not storm drift. Shifted like something underneath was moving. And the scans, Kip said they were glitching but not randomly. Always around the same hours. Always in the same spots. Then there were the whispers. Comms started picking up static. Snatches of sound that shouldn't have been there. Sometimes it sounded like breathing. Sometimes words, almost human but off, like someone wearing the language like a mask. By day 3, we hadn't slept. By day 4, we found the first hole. A perfect circle, 6 feet wide, drilled straight into the rock. No blast residue. No debris. Just clean, cold nothing. We should have left right then. But orders were orders. And the Vexery don't scare easy. Eryx least of all. We found the second hole on day 4. Same size, same shape, same silent threat. It hadn't been there the night before. We checked the timestamp drone feed. Kip confirmed it. This wasn't here. I'd bet my stash of synth brew on it. Marlowe clapped him on the back. If we make it back, I'm holding you to that. You owe me something for this frozen nightmare. Eryx crouched beside the hole, her mandibles twitching. Not natural, she said. Her voice always sounded like ice breaking under pressure. Sharp and layered, like more than one person was speaking. Not Vexery, not human. Nothing leaves, no trace. We'd seen no signs of native life. No burrows, no scat, no footprints. But the canyons had changed. Paths we'd mapped 2 days prior had shifted. Walls of ice forming where open trails used to be. Nella said we were hallucinating. Sleep deprivation, maybe. Stress-induced pattern recognition. But we all saw it. The rocks were rearranged. That night, Kip didn't come back. We were doing perimeter rotations in pairs. He went out with Orion. 20-minute loop, standard route. Only Orion returned. We found him staggering, his rifle gone, bleeding from a long gouge down his shoulder. His eyes, gods, his eyes were wrong. Dilated, twitching, like he'd seen too much of something that shouldn't exist. What happened? I demanded. Where's Kip? Orion just shook his head. It took him. I don't know. It moved like water, like light. Kip fired, but it didn't matter. We prepped a rescue sweep, even though we knew it was a waste. Reza loaded his blades with charge packs. If that thing's still around, it's getting a personal introduction. The storm was closing in again. Sheets of snow and fine-cut ice reducing visibility to arm's length. Eric's insisted she lead. Said she could sense something. The veil is thinner now, she whispered, more to herself than to us. They're almost here. That was the first time she said they. We found Kip's helmet wedged into the ice wall, just above head height. Still whole, still sealed. But the inside, Jesus, Nella hissed, backing away. It was filled with blood. No brain matter, no skull fragments, just blood. Like someone had extracted everything with surgical precision and left the shell for us to find. Marlowe cursed. That's not a kill. That's a message. I wanted to argue. I wanted to say that alien life didn't play games. That predatory instinct wasn't the same as malice. But then the whispers came back. This time on every channel. Every open line started hissing. First static, then voices mimicking ours. I heard my own voice over comms, barking orders I never gave. Heard Kip's last log, but twisted. Wrong cadence. Like someone learning how to be him. Orion locked himself in the medbay after that. Wouldn't answer hails. Just rocked in place and repeated, "It's in the light. It's in the light." Nella drugged him into unconsciousness, but that didn't help the rest of us sleep. On day 5, Eric's drew something in the frost. A symbol, circular and broken. "I thought this place was dead," she said. "But it's dreaming, and now that we've touched it, it dreams of us." We were down to 5, and morale was cracked like the ice under our boots. Our mission was now extraction. HQ ordered immediate evac after Kip's disappearance and Orion's psych break. Trouble was, the skimmer didn't respond. Kip had handled the uplink codes, and now they were locked. We were stuck. No bird. No backup. No way to get off this ghost moon. That's when we made the choice. Hike the ridge to the secondary relay tower 5 clicks east. Manually sync the data. Force a pickup signal. It meant moving through the canyon that held the third hole. The one with the glowing edge. Yeah. Glowing. It was faint. Pale blue, like bioluminescent algae. But it pulsed. Not steadily. Like breath. Like a heartbeat. "Still want to lead, Eric's?" I asked, half a joke. She looked at me, her stare flat. "This place is listening, Sergeant. I don't think we have the luxury of turning back." We moved out. Half a click in, we found fresh footprints, boot treads. Kip's. "Maybe he's alive?" Nella whispered. Reza didn't break stride. "Or maybe something wants us to think he is." The trail led directly into the mouth of the canyon. A natural throat, frozen walls rising high on either side, forming a choke point. Snow fell in lazy sheets overhead. The wind died the moment we crossed the threshold. It was too quiet. We kept formation. Marlowe on point, Eric's behind him, me center with Nella and Orion, still sedated, Reza pulling rear. The ice walls reflected our lights, scattering beams in unnatural directions. It was like walking through a hall of warped mirrors. I kept seeing movement just outside my peripheral vision. Everyone did. No one spoke. Then Marlowe stopped. Ahead of us, the canyon opened into a wide basin, and in the center was a structure. Not human, not vexery, something ancient. A black spire rising from the ground, frostbitten and smooth, humming softly. The sound wasn't audible, but we felt it in our teeth. "I've seen this in the archives," Eric's whispered. "This predates us all." "What the hell is it?" Reza muttered. "A tomb," she said. "Or a gate." It was then that Kip walked into view. Whole, unharmed, smiling. "About time," he said. "Took you long enough." We aimed every weapon we had at him. No one fired. "What are you doing, Kip?" I said, inching forward. He looked calm, casual, like this was just another briefing. "It's beautiful, Sarge. You don't have to fight it." Eric's hissed and stepped in front of me. "That's not him." Kip's eyes flicked to her, and the smile faded. "You're always the difficult ones. So much noise in your heads." Marlowe stepped forward. "Enough of this." Then Kip's body folded. There's no other word for it. One moment he was standing. The next he imploded, skin collapsing like a deflated suit, limbs contorting into impossible angles. What stood in his place wasn't Kip. It wasn't anything. A shape of wrongness. Limbs that didn't connect properly. Skin that shimmered between states of matter. Eyes, dozens of them, blinking across its torso like a Morse code signal. Reza opened fire. So did I. Bullets hit but did nothing. Passed through like mist, though it noticed. It twitched, twisted, and Reza screamed as her left arm vanished at the elbow. Not cut, not torn. Removed, like it had never been there. Eric's shouted something in her own language. The creature reacted, flinched. And that was enough. Marlowe surged forward with the gravrip and slammed it into the ground. The gravitational burst knocked the thing back, scattering its form like oil on water. I grabbed Reza and pulled her behind cover. We ran. No plan. No formation. Just blind, primal retreat through the mirrored ice, chased by something that should not be. We didn't stop until we reached the edge of the canyon again. The storm had returned, thank God, and with it came sound. Noise. Distraction. But we were down to 4. And the thing was still behind us. Waiting. Watching. We made it back to the outpost with Reza bleeding out and Marlowe screaming at the snow like it owed him answers. Eric's dropped to one knee the moment we breached the blast doors, mandibles fluttering. It didn't follow, she said. Not yet. Nella and I hauled Reza onto the med slab. What was left of her arm was a smooth stump. Not cauterized, not mangled. Just gone. Like it had been erased clean from the timeline. No necrosis, no trauma, Nella muttered. This isn't biology. This is something else. You mean sorcery? Marlowe barked from across the room. 'Cause I'm running out of science to explain why our friend got turned into abstract art. Eric stood slowly. Not sorcery. Intelligence. Ancient. Hungry. I was about to tell them to shut up, regroup, think tactically, but then Orion woke up. He bolted upright, eyes wide, skin pale. It's in the spire. That's the anchor. That's the gate. I turned. How do you know that? Because it showed me. When it touched me. He pointed to his temple. It doesn't want the planet. It doesn't care about conquest. It wants entry. Us. We're just the keychain. The lights flickered. Nella looked up. No storm interference this time. Something's jamming us. The PA system crackled. Then it spoke. First in Orion's voice. Then Kip's. Then mine. Do you fear the open door? Or what waits behind it? I pulled my sidearm. Useless gesture, maybe, but it grounded me. Tighten up, I snapped. If that thing can mimic us, we verify every voice, every command. No solo movement. No shadows unaccounted for. We set perimeter nodes. Pulse scanners. Heat traps. Nothing registered. But we could feel it. The air grew heavier. Gravity hummed in our bones. Reza began muttering in her sleep, twitching violently. Nella sedated her again. It didn't help. That's when Marlowe made his call. We should destroy the spire. Not our mission, I said. We're past mission parameters, he snapped. We saw what it did. If we don't bury that thing now, it's getting out. And then HQ has a lot bigger problems than some missing grunts. I looked to Eric's. She gave the smallest nod. Destroy the anchor. Sever its hold. It will fight, but it will lose. We loaded every explosive we had into the crawler. Nella rigged the fuel core with a deadman switch. I'd go in with Marlowe. Orion would stay with the wounded. Eric's volunteered to lead. The canyon hadn't changed, but the air had. Warmer. Wetter. The snow no longer crunched. It squelched. The walls dripped. The spire pulsed louder now. Almost eager. This is a bad idea, Marlowe muttered. No argument here, I said. Let's make it count. We reached the basin. The spire looked taller. Closer. And it was breathing. No metaphor, breathing. Expanding and contracting, as if filled with lungs too vast to be seen. Then it shrieked. Sound without sound. A pressure in the skull. Blood leaked from Marlowe's nose instantly. Eric staggered, clutching her head. Figures began to emerge from the spire's surface. Not stepping out, growing out. Dozens of them. Every squadmate, dead or alive, twisted in small, wrong ways. Reza with 6 arms. Orion with no face. Kip with a second mouth opening in his chest. They're not copies, Eric's hissed. They're simulations. Learning tools. The Kip thing smiled. We wanted to understand. But now we hunger. The fake Reza rushed us first. Marlowe fired. Twice. The bullets struck, blew pieces away, but they reformed. Her body was liquid meat, refusing to die. Eric's chanted in her native tongue. The Reza thing flinched. Staggered. I lobbed a charge at its feet. The explosion ripped through it, but also cracked the spire. It screamed again. This time the canyon echoed. The world shivered. I turned to Marlowe. Now or never. He rushed forward with the crawler pack, planting charges at the base of the structure. Eric's held the line, slashing with her glaive, shouting runes with each strike. Then something grabbed me. From the ground. Hands, human hands, reaching up from the snow. Grabbing my legs. Pulling. Not strong, but infinite. I fired down. No effect. They didn't bleed. Didn't cry. Just tugged. Then Marlowe did it. Cores primed, he shouted. Dead man's hot. Fall back. He didn't move. He looked at me, smiled through bloodied teeth. You'll make it. One of us has to. Marlowe don't. But he'd already taken out the detonator and twisted it open. Eric's lunged for me, dragged me back, just as the world cracked. The explosion wasn't fire, it was reality tearing. The spire collapsed inward. The things screamed. Some in our voices, some in tones that shattered ice. Light poured from the rift, hot and colorless, erasing the false sky. Then everything stopped. We woke in the snow. Only 3 of us left. Eric's, me, and somehow Orion. Bloody but alive, standing over us with tears in his eyes. It's gone, he said. The spire, the basin, Marlowe, all of it. I looked up at the sky. Stars again. Real ones. We limped back to the outpost in silence. No one spoke about Marlowe, or about what we saw in the spire, or the voice that had borrowed ours and spoken through our memories like they were just files to sift through. Reza was still unconscious, her vitals low. Nella had given her everything we had left. Orion sat beside her, barely holding together. Whatever that thing did to him in the spire, it hadn't finished the job. His skin was cold. His pulse came and went. Eric stood watch at the blast door. She hadn't moved since we came back. I slumped into the command chair. The console was blinking, glitching out, but the emergency transmitter still pulsed red. Any signal? I asked. Orion shook his head. We're blacked out. EM wash across the whole valley. Same as before. Except now. He looked at his hands. Now I think it's coming from us. Eric's turned slowly. It left a piece behind. You mean in Orion? She shook her head. In all of us. We were in its mouth. We heard it speak. That's enough. I opened the last remaining weapons locker. 2 pistols, half a magazine each. 1 arc grenade. And the flame unit Marlowe had stashed under the floor panel, a relic, a liability on ships and stations. But now, fire was our last god. That night, or whatever passed for night on Fracture, we got the confirmation. It wasn't over. I was woken by static. Not over the comms, but inside my skull. Like a whisper you couldn't quite make out, but knew was your own voice. I bolted upright. Nella was gone. I found her in the med bay, standing over Reza's slab. She had a scalpel in her hand. Nella, I said slowly, put that down. She's not Reza, she whispered. I've been watching. Her breathing's wrong. Her rhythm. She keeps twitching in patterns. Like she's signaling. She's sedated. She's broadcasting. Eric's entered behind me, eyes glowing with fury. She's right, she said. I can hear it now. A pulse. Not vocal. Not mental. Deeper. We moved fast. Locked Reza down. I pulled Orion aside, checked his vitals. He was stable, but there was something new on the scanner. a signal pulsing from inside his chest. He looked at me. I think it tagged me. Eric's hissed. We must purge the contamination before it calls back what we burned. I slammed a fist on the table. No. No more losses. No more goddamn sacrifices. We find another way. Would Marlowe have agreed? She said coldly. I turned to Orion. You're not giving up, are you? He shook his head. Not unless it takes me first. We didn't have a med lab with surgical gear. We had what we could scrounge. An old sensor lance, a modified arc probe, and Nella's guts of steel. It wasn't clean. It wasn't safe. But we isolated the signal node, buried in a cavity near Orion's heart. Like a pearl grown from pain. She pulled it free, screaming the whole time. When it hit the tray, it twitched like a dying insect. We torched it on the spot. And that should have been the end. But then the walls screamed. No mistaking it this time. The base had become the mouth. And it was speaking. You left a door open. The lights went red. The consoles melted. Snow began falling inside. Not flakes, ashes. Each one whispering. We turned as the floor split. From beneath the med slab, a new spire had begun to grow. Quiet, patient, fed by Ray's dreams, by our pain, by the invitation Orion had carried back in his blood. Eric spun to me. You know what must be done. I nodded. Yeah, we burn the whole thing. She placed a hand on my shoulder, something rare for her species. You are not like the others. No, I said. We're worse. We evacuated what we could. Dragged Orion and Reza to the outer corridor. I handed Eric's the flame unit. She took it solemnly. Then I went back inside. Nella was waiting. I'm not leaving her, she said. You have to. I'm not. So make your decision. She raised the arc probe and smiled. You'll need time to run. Then she stabbed the power core behind her. The base trembled. The flames roared. Eric's dragged me out. I fought her. Screamed. But it didn't matter. The structure collapsed behind us as the snow turned to steam. Nella died with Reza in her arms. And the spire died screaming. We were found 6 hours later by a recon skiff out of Black Site 7. Emergency protocol had triggered the base's final beacon as it vaporized. They said the terrain was altered. That seismic events had shifted the mountain's roots. That nothing matched the pre-mission maps. They said we were hallucinating. They said the mission was non-reproducible. Eric's doesn't speak of it. Not in words. But sometimes she draws patterns in the dirt. Like the ones she chanted before the fire. Orion still dreams of the spire, though the surgeons say they removed everything the entity left behind. They're wrong. It left something in me too. Not a parasite. Not a signal. A memory. Of what's waiting beyond the next open door. They gave us medals. Little polished discs with names engraved in languages half of us didn't speak. Eric's was shaped like a crescent blade, lined with sigils from her war clan. Orion got a crystal-etched plaque with a transmission code so long it crashed the ship's speech parser. Mine was just a brass star. They said we were instrumental in preventing a multivector breach of unknown origin. They didn't say how we prevented it, or what we burned to the ground to do it, or that most of our team didn't make it back. There's no mention of Nella, or Reza, or Marlowe. Their names weren't on the report. Just loss of personnel due to environmental instability and unidentified psychic contagion. I wanted to scream. I wanted to drag the brass down to that black valley and make them listen to the silence that followed us back. Instead, I said nothing. That's what survivors do, I guess. They don't scream. They carry. I left the Corps 4 weeks later. Took my severance. Disappeared into the drift. For a while, I helped patch cargo haulers that limped through the fringe. No questions. No uniforms. No mission codes. Just rust, grease, and the stars. Orion found me on one of the relay moons orbiting Delantris. He still had the same limp, same crooked grin, but his eyes never stayed still, like they were listening for something just out of range. I had a dream, he said, sitting beside me on the scaffold. Not a nightmare. This one was quiet. I nodded. She was there, wasn't she? He didn't ask who I meant. He just nodded. Nella said she forgave me, said we bought time, that it wasn't over, but that we'd done enough. I stared out at the drifting wreckage orbiting the moon. I don't know if I believe in redemption, but I believe in her. Eric's arrived the next day. She didn't speak at first, just stood behind us, her massive silhouette etched in starlight. Eventually, she sat. She brought with her a relic, an obsidian carving of the flame unit we used in the spire. She handed it to me without explanation. I turned it over in my hands. There were marks scorched into it, 8 notches. One for each of us who went in. Only 3 survived. I am returning to my homeworld, she said quietly, to tell them the humans held the line, that you did not break. I looked up. They won't believe you. No, she agreed. But they will know. They decommissioned the outpost. Officially, Zone Omega-6 is classified as unstable terraform layer. No more missions. No exploration rights. Blacklisted. But I know the truth. They didn't shut it down. They sealed it in. Under ash. Under protocol. Under silence. And it's still there. Waiting. Because what we fought wasn't a creature. Wasn't a species. It was the reminder of how small we are. How fragile. That behind all our machines, metals, and bravado we're just meat that thinks it matters. But what scared it, what made it scream in the end, wasn't our weapons. It was her. Nella. Choosing to stay behind. To die in the dark so the rest of us could live. Whatever that thing was, whatever ancient tongue it used to crawl into our minds, it didn't understand sacrifice. It didn't understand love. It understands now. I keep the carving Eric's gave me. I wear the brass star on my belt, not my chest. Some nights I take it out, run my fingers over the edge, and I remember the fire, the ash. The moment Nella smiled and said, "You'll need time to run." She didn't wait for an answer. She knew. We weren't heroes. We were humans. And for the first time in its ancient existence, the thing in the spire saw what that meant. There's one last thing. Before we left the valley, before the skiff arrived, Eric's and I found something in the rubble, just outside the spire's base. A metal shard. It wasn't ours. It was old, pre-human, etched with a symbol that neither of us recognized, until we found the translation on one of Orion's analysis pads. One word. Second. Meaning what? That what we fought was not the first, or maybe not the last. So I keep my gear packed, my blade sharp, my eyes open, because I have a feeling this story doesn't end with medals and scars. This was just the beginning of whatever comes after. And when the door opens again, I'll be ready.